Hey, I'm Zig Ziglar, the sports kinesiologist, and today I want to talk with you about basketball. Basketball is one of my favorite sports. It's actually a sport that I've had a lot of experience with, and if you know anything about my history, you know I spent a little time consulting with the Portland Trail Blazers, the New York Knicks, even players from the Phoenix Suns, and one that really comes to mind is Shaquille O'Neal, who throughout his entire career, he struggled from the free throw line. And I had said to some of my good friends, and a lot of you guys know I've got some good friends in the NBA, or former players, my boy Charles Barkley, what up, Chuck? Hey, Shaq is the guy that I had said to them, man, if I could just get one day with him, 1 hour, I could definitely show Shaquille O'Neal what he can do to improve his free throw shooting. Well, in 2008, I got that shot. Yeah, the Phoenix Suns called. And they said, hey, we just traded for Shaq. We're working on his free throw shooting, and would you be able to come down and use your technology on him so that we can see if you can help him improve his free throw shooting? Well, the rest is history. Went down, spent about an hour recording videos, took those videos back, and we converted those to 3D. I looked at the data, and it showed that all these things everybody had been talking about was when it comes to Shaq and his free throw shooting. His hands are too big, the ball's too small, the ball's too light, he's too strong. All those things had nothing to do with his inability to make free throws. No, what was in his way was balance. That's right, Shaquille O'Neal was losing his balance while shooting free throws, and it made him inconsistent with his point of release. In fact, all of the shots that we analyzed, literally when we looked at the release point of his hand as the ball was coming out, it was literally all over the place from shot to shot. It was never anywhere near the same spot on any of those shots, and we analyzed a bunch of them. So I took a look at that, and I brought it all the way back down to his feet, and we saw that he was losing his balance. And if you think about it, the guy's 7 feet tall. It's like the Eiffel Tower swaying in the wind. But the data showed that he was only off by a few degrees. And so what we did was we changed his base. And if you'll look, the 2008 NBA playoffs, Shaq shot 73% from the free throw line. All thanks to one simple adjustment. But today what I want to do with you is I want to talk with you about our analysis. In fact, I want to break down an assessment for you with my man, Cam Satterwhite. I went down to the facility in Phoenix, and if you've ever been to the facility, it's one of the nicest private basketball gyms in the country. Immaculate. And they gave me the opportunity to come in and do some work there with a few of the guys. And here's what it looked like when I pulled up. I'm going to pull up Cam's shots here. We're going to go from a view that's off to his right-hand side. And there's so much that we could be looking at. I'm going to pull up some data from him. I'm going to pull up his hand speeds here. I'm going to let him go ahead and start to play so we can get him caught up. Then I'm also going to pull up what we call a real-time data display. And while I'm pulling that up, I'm going to put his body rotations up on that. Okay. And in his body rotations, we can see his pelvis rotation, his X factor. I'm going to pause him because he's getting ready to shoot, I can tell. We've got his pelvis rotation, his X factor, and his upper body rotation. What is his X factor? Well, it's the difference between his hips and his shoulders. As they twist, they make an X. I look for them to be at alignment close to zero. Zero. We are square to the basket, and you can notice here that his pelvis rotation is actually 19 degrees open. He's turned to the left. And his upper body is 26 degrees open. It's turned even more to the left. Now, a lot of basketball scholars will tell you, well, he's right-handed, he's got the ball on his right side, it's got to sit out in front a little bit. Well, in actuality, when it comes to ideal biomechanics, the ball should actually sit on the right more and back, so he should be rotated. So this should be negative, not positive, okay? This should be negative, which means that he actually is loaded onto his right side so he can transfer to the left. In this case, Cam's already loaded on his left side, so everything he does is going to be working against the natural flow of his ability to shoot. If you think about how you're supposed to, or how you throw a baseball or a softball, or how you swing a golf club, or how you go to kick, If you're right-handed, things will start on the right and work their way to the left. In this case, Cam starts on his left and has to actually work his way back to the right. So if you'll notice here in the upper body rotation, okay, look at that 27.3. As he goes to shoot, he starts to open up even more. So now he's at 30 degrees open. 30 degrees open. His hips, though, they rotated back to create stability. So what that tells me is that his left side is pushing towards his right side, which is the opposite of what you would do in terms of fluidity and efficiency. So now as we go along, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this second box here first and foremost. This is Cam's hand speeds and the direction that the ball goes and the speed that it goes in all of those different directions. Z, that's the easy one. That's up and down, okay? This last one down at the bottom here, that's what we call his resultant speed. You can see right now at this point in his shot, the resultant speed of his hands, and you can see we've got a sensor on his hands, and also on his feet, his pelvis, his head, his torso, his head, his shooting elbow, and both of his hands. I didn't put one on the other side elbow because I didn't need one over there, okay? That gives us 8 sensors that we're able to use to analyze Cam Satterwhite's shooting mechanics, and we do this with any basketball player. This is stuff you can't see with the naked eye. You just can't see it. But with our technology, we're able to not just see it, but actually, even during this session with Cam, we wanted to do some instruction with him, so we turned on biofeedback. And biofeedback beeped at him when he got out of position.
"20 degrees of range of motion.
12.
Good.
Because one of the questions that I asked Cam was, hey Cam, when you get ready to shoot a free throw, talk to me about what you do. And Cam said he aligns his feet, then he wants to make sure his hips and shoulders are square to the basket, and then he goes through his routine when he's ready to shoot. His job, his intention is to stay square the entire time. Well, we can see that that actually didn't happen, okay? Because just in his setup, he was open to his left with his hips and his shoulders, okay? And then if we look at this, go back to this bottom box down here, we were talking about that resultant hand speed, okay? And this hand speed vertically, and then this green one is actually his hand speed in the direction of the basket. What's the speed that he's going there? Now this top one up here, that's the interesting one. That's his alignment speed. Is he off to the left or off to the right? And you can see at this point, his speed is moving just under 1 mile per hour to the right as he starts to go. So I'm gonna slow this down a little bit. We're gonna let it play. And here we go. We see Cam going back. Ooh, I'm going to zoom in for a second. I got this graph going back here. This green line shows us where we are in the shot, by the way. And it shows us that we've just begun. I'm going to zoom in for us here. We've just started to accelerate towards the basket. Okay? Remember, this green one is towards the basket. Actually, he was accelerating towards the basket way back here. He flattened out for a little bit as he starts to let the ball shift back into the palm of his hand or into his fingertips more. Okay, the elbow is still moving up. By the way, I could get a lot more data. And as I get to the end of this, I'll talk to you a little bit about that. All right, that's a lot more data there than just this. But we can see here now that this shows me that there's a little bit of a hitch in Cam's shot that happens, so I'm going to leave it there, okay? As we go along here, it starts to happen right here. He's lagging in his wrist, and then the wrist starts to accelerate forward, okay? So that little bit of decline there is a little bit of hitch in his wrist. So the wrist loaded even more. Some people might say that's a good thing. We don't know. Because one thing I want to do is I want to collect a lot more data on, you guessed it, basketball players. So we got the pelvis rotation moving here. Yep, it's a lot of stuff, guys. So we just have to pick one thing that we're going to work on. I'm just sharing with you that we are collecting just in this particular, or reviewing just in this particular video, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 data points, 7 data points, and time, plus what we see visually as we move along here. Most coaches want to look at the video and go, oh yeah, I see that. Okay, but I like to look at the data. So if you're looking at the video here, yes, we can see, and I will go ahead and let it play along a little further until we get to the end of the shot. Went too far, so I'm going to back up. Yep, right about there. This is about the point where Cam reached peak velocity with his right hand or his shooting hand. Okay, there is a kinematic sequence that I would want to look at and start to study a little bit more, because every sports motion has kinematic sequence. And what I'd be looking at is his leg extension, his foot position. Okay? So we got leg extension from the feet to the hips. Then we would be looking at from the hips to the torso. And you can actually see he's actually leaning backwards as well, just looking at the video. There's a lot of him bailing out or coming off the ball. Then we see that arm action. We can see this is straight on from the right side, by the way. And you can see that he's rotated to his left. But remember, he already started on his left. So I'm going to pull this down so y'all can see that again. 37 degrees now as he releases the ball towards his left. So he moved just over 10 degrees from, or a little bit more from where he started. His hips, though, they stabilized. Okay, they stayed in that 18 to 22 degree range, which is minute. But if you want to maximize your efficiency, and you guys heard Shaq say that if you have, or if you're off by 5 degrees or 10 degrees on your elbow, we can tell you what to do to adjust that, okay? Because it's not as simple as, hey, just keep your elbow in, or just shoot like this. It's not that simple. Your coaching cues might be absolutely perfect, but we want to make sure that they can do what they need to do to implement and execute the cues that every coach gives them. So, hey, I'm Zig Ziglar, the sports kinesiologist. You're listening to me talk a little bit about shooting a basketball. And so we're breaking down Cam Satterwhite. He's a European basketball player, been playing overseas, Arizona native, caught up with him at the facility down in Phoenix. So let's look at this. This shot data tells us what we really need to know, and that is, what direction did he shoot the ball? Okay, he shot the ball, total hand speed, result hand speed, 10.86 miles per hour. Towards the target, towards the basket, 10.19 miles per hour. At this point, as he's releasing it, we see 1.69 miles per hour. But look at this one. He's 3 miles per hour. In a perfect world, he actually would have aligned at perfectly almost at 0 on the body rotations as he shot and released the ball at this point in time. These numbers would say 0. That would mean he stayed square. That would mean he leveraged and utilized everything effectively and efficiently. Okay? And now, he can go out and he can practice 1,000 shots a day, but there are 1,000 shots like this. And what happens over time as you fatigue, this data changes. Your ability to release in terms of this timing with these speed directions, it changes. If you're 1 inch off down on your feet, this data changes. And I'm going to show you guys one thing real quick here. I'm going to move this. I'm going to go to a view that you can't see unless we're doing this on a glass floor. Let's move that back over there. You guys know, I'm going to reverse it so we can get back to the beginning of the shot. Okay. And I'm going to move Cam over a little bit here. This is from the bottom view. So this is us looking underneath Cam as he shoots the ball. Let's move this up here so we can get this out of the way. I went too far back, so let's go ahead and let that play. I'm going to shrink this down. Nope, there we are. All right, so as Cam's shooting the ball, look at his feet visually. I'm going to zoom in. Let's pause and let's zoom. We know that he's starting to shoot the ball right here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so you can really, really, really see his feet. There's his right foot and there's his left foot. As we let this go, watch what Cam does with his feet. They turn. And remember, this is from underneath us. That was his right foot and his left foot. So Cam's feet turn to the left. So whereas his feet or his lower body seemed to stabilize, his feet were moving. And the reason why they were stabilizing is because as he's shooting to the right, his left leg is pushing to the left to create stability. Now look, he settles back down, his feet twist back to normal. So this is just one example of one player and how he shoots the basketball. This is just one of his shots. We took a bunch of shots that day. Wow. If you're a basketball player and you're looking to maximize the effectiveness and the efficiency of how you shoot the ball, spend a little time with us at Z Athlete Factory. Come spend a little time with us at Z Athlete Factory. And we'll help optimize so that you can maximize your results. Hey, Shaq shot 20% better during the playoffs in 2008, and you can too. I'm Zig Ziglar, the sports kinesiologist, and thanks for spending a little time with me. I look forward to seeing you at Z Athlete Factory. Email, DM, call, subscribe. That's right. Click subscribe right here on the YouTube channel. Follow me. I'll be giving more and more tips and breaking down more and more promotions. This is the Athlete Factory.